The Carl B. Phillips Show.
Hosted by me, Carl B. Phillips, Uncle Carl.
The Carl B. Phillips Show.
Get ready for another great conversation on the Carl B. Phillips Show. Welcome to the Carl B. Phillips Show. I am Carl B. Phillips, Uncle Carl. Today's guest is my friend. She's my sister from Detroit, Michigan. She's an evangelist, choir directress, a pastor's kid, actress, radio show host, and a recording artist. You've been doing a lot of stuff. You didn't realize.
I'm doing a lot of stuff.
Please help me welcome my sister, Evangelist Staffy Blakely. What's up, Staffy?
What's up, Carl B. Phillips? I think you're the only one we say your whole name.
Well, you know why I do that?
Yeah.
When I started in radio, I was just Carl Phillips, but like Al B. Sure was popular. So Al B. Sure, my middle name is Bernard. I'm Carl B. Phillips.
All right.
It's weird because I started out Carl B. Phillips, but then I got on radio, and I'm talking about myself. One thing I told you I wasn't going to do.
I told you I could switch you. I told you.
When I started on radio, one of the radio stations in Detroit, I was just like, "Hey, I'm Carl B."
Yeah.
And when I places, people are like, "Yo, what's up, Carl B?" I'm like, "Why they calling me that?" Because I was saying that.
Yeah. Because I started going by Staffy B because I've had a couple of last names with the B, so folks don't get confused. I say just Staffy B. It's good.
Staffy B. Well, now I warned you I was going to have a random question for you. So your first random question: if you could instantly have a new skill, what skill would you choose and why?
Wow. If I could instantly have a new skill, it would be mortuary science.
Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah.
As we're celebrating the Day of the Dead in Mexico, you want to do mortuary science? Why mortuary science?
I don't know. I'm infatuated and it's terrible, scary to say. Don't mean nothing, y'all. But I find myself looking at funerals of people I don't even know. I've had an opportunity to go to funeral homes and see the embalming process. And I'm just infatuated with how things in the body work. And why is the leg connected to the ankle and foot? And, and so when I got a chance to really see that, I'm really in awe how God has made us.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm in awe of that next moment after you pass, what happens. I ain't trying to find out yet, Lord, but just in awe of that next moment. Mm-hmm. Not saying that I would find it out working on somebody or doing something like that, but that would be the other skill that I would like to do.
That's an interesting skill. The Blakely Funeral Home, where you face death. Now you just gotta face me.
Yes, just face it. Absolutely,
just face it.
Yes. So I was gonna go and apply because a lot of us church folks are working in the funeral homes. Mm-hmm. About prominent musicians and stuff, and that's something I was gonna try to do. And do an apprenticeship. Somebody said I could do an apprenticeship and become an embalmer or, something in the mortuary science world.
I say go for it.
Yeah, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it.
Just do it.
Just do it. Absolutely. That's what I would like to do.
That is so awesome.
And the dead don't talk back.
That's true. And if they do, you better run.
Right. That's the other part.
Let's talk a little bit about your parents, Apostle Marshall Hall and Evangelist Carolyn Hall. They recently celebrated their 32nd pastoral anniversary. Shout out to them.
Yes.
What are some of the highlights you remember from being a PK for the last 32 years?
Well, my God. First of all, as a PK, you do everything. But I do it willingly because my father is actually stepfather, but we don't go by none of that, but just for the sake of people getting to understand. And so when I met him at 12 years old, I had already been saved 7 years because I got saved at 5. so I had already, did revivals in the backyard, and he was not saved. And so to watch that progression from him not being saved, my mother getting remarried, and church coming, and I always feared that one day my folks would become pastors, because my dad was assistant pastor. I just jumped way ahead, but he became assistant pastor of the church that I grew up in, Christian Love Tabernacle of Holiness, under the late Pastor Reverend Andrew Sett. He became assistant pastor, and I always feared. I said, I hope you don't ever become a pastor, because I know I'm going to have to work. And lo and behold, the pastor got sick. She passed away, and it was a fight in the church, literally. And that was the split. And next thing I knew, we were sitting at the kitchen table. Well, even before that, he said, if I ever get a church, I'm gonna name it New Foundation. And I was like, oh, I hope you don't ever get one, because I know I'm gonna have to work. So in the past 32 years, willingly though, because I absolutely love church. And so from cleaning the bathrooms, to youth pastoring, to driving the church van, to opening up the doors, to shoveling the snow, whatever our hands has found to do, to emceeing, to creating programs, all that kind of stuff has come with the fact that my dad became pastor and my mother as the evangelist. This is really all I know. So in 32 years, that's why you say, wow, you've done a lot. Yeah, because we didn't get a chance to sit down, and it was church Monday through Monday.
Wow.
I mean, literally, we went to church every day because of, children's meeting, choir rehearsal, Bible study, Sunday school. We were there all the time, and my folks was very active. So because they were active, my brother and me, we didn't have a choice. But I fell absolutely in love with it, which is why you see me at 5 churches on a Sunday, because I was having some hard times during pandemic when we only had this, right, and I didn't have any place to go. So oh my gosh, yeah, the list is long, sir. For 32 years.
That's old school. Church from 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock in the morning, and you don't get out 8 o'clock at night.
Yes, where we would sleep on the pews, and our mama made us. We got home and went straight to bed, but we got up and we went to school Monday morning. That was just the way of life. That was how it was.
For church kids, if they made it through high school, it was the grace of God.
It was a grace.
It was tired and sleepy.
Right.
Especially if your church shouted on Sunday night.
Look, we shouted, and after night service was at 7 o'clock. So we wasn't on time. That meant 8 o'clock before we really got going. That right. meant 10 o'clock by the time the shout was over and the pastor got up with a word. So we was getting home by midnight.
Wow. Those were some awesome times.
Oh, I wouldn't trade them.
When you have watched your parents, you mentioned that in ministry for the past 32 years, how have they influenced who you are as an evangelist from watching them in ministry?
Oh my gosh, that's a great question. My parents never restricted me from doing anything that I wanted to do. Even when I wanted to go to the party, I had parents that taught that that's not what we do, but my mother did not keep me from it. Mm. I went the one time and realized that that was not for me. And so they have influenced me. They have encouraged me to do whatever I wanted to do. My mother and father never ever said, don't do it, things of God. And what I love most, and I'm transparent right here, is, I got pregnant before marriage. Mm-hmm. As an evangelist. I was 38 years old, so I knew right from wrong. And my dad said to me, when I found out I was pregnant, I had to speak at a Women's Day the next day. I found out that Saturday, and I went to him. I said, I can't do this because just found out that I'm pregnant. He said, well, if God can forgive you, then who am I? He
Wow.
said, you'll be speaking tomorrow at Women's Day. And I obeyed, and I got up and I was transparent with the ladies there. It might have been one of my best messages because I met women that saw themselves in me, that people behind the sacred desk are not these perfect people, and that we do make mistakes. And I cannot tell you the women that came up to me afterwards and said, thank you.
Wow.
For sharing that. And so my parents, I wanted to go to music school. My mama made it happen. I was the first student at Clark Conservatory.
Wow.
Was my teacher right over there on 7 Mile. They were still putting up the walls when I started. A lot of people don't know that I was the first student. And I will never forget, Twinkie was calling me. I was taking music lessons at Grinnell's. Do you remember Grinnell's?
Mm-hmm.
And Twinkie called. I dropped that teacher in 30 seconds when she called, and I said, dropped my teacher and started studying with Twinkie. And Twinkie, and I would just remember, I never knew that it was a sacrifice being made by my parents to pay for me to go there and take those lessons. I just know I went. It was only $5 a lesson, but $5, was a little change then, and they made it happen. So anything I wanted to do, I was in the radio TV world. I don't know if you remember Dr. Mary Wilkes with Teen File on Channel 62. My folks got me a car very early. I started driving at 14. Before I really had license, they said, you too busy. We're gonna get you your own car, and you better not have no accident. Police better not come get you. And so they pushed me and allowed me to take part, and that's where the radio bug and television bug came from. When I started at Channel 62 with Dr. Mary Wilkes, and my mother never said no. I was on track. They pushed me into that. And I know just so much that I was instrumental in creating the Murray Wright Gospel Choir.
So let me slow you down because you all up in the rest of my interview.
Okay. I told you. I told you. But that's how they were instrumental in ministry for me.
You talked about being pregnant at 38.
Yeah.
Your son Sterling is your world.
My baby, mommy's baby.
Is your world. Recently, a couple of years ago, graduated from high school and had the nerves to leave you and go to college.
Yeah.
How are you handling watching him become a man and going out in life and doing this thing, playing basketball and all this type of stuff? How are you handling being able to let him go and be that man that he should be?
Wonderfully. Because that was the goal. And I think maybe as an older parent, it's a little different than somebody in their 30s and their son is now 18 and maybe they're 36, let's say, and they're ready to do their own thing. I worked hard for him to do exactly what he's doing today. Of course, it was tough letting him go, being a Black man, going out in the world. But all I could rely on was what was taught to him from my parents and from me. And I trusted God. And now he went left, but God tapped me. He said, Staffy's got to have his own journey. And so that things would not be perfect. I just dreamt of him doing everything that I did, but it didn't go that way. So to see him, and then let me tell you this, Carl, my doctor had told me that after, I've been married twice, that I would not be able to have any kids.
Wow.
And so when he showed up, that was one reason he showed up. But when he showed up, I was like, wow. And I wanted to do everything so perfect to make sure I would find men because his dad was just not there. But I wanted to make sure so that when that time came for him to leave, that he would be prepared. And he is just doing a marvelous. He's now in New Hampshire, playing in Concord, New Hampshire, playing ball and going to school and just doing wonderful. Everything that we instilled in him, I can truly say that it's coming to pass. So I'm glad.
One thing that I hear you say as I'm listening to you talking, this isn't one of the questions, but just out of talking to you, your parents showed you grace, and you recently said that your son went left. When you realized you had to show him the same grace that your parents showed you, was that like a aha moment for you?
It was. Absolutely. Absolutely. It was an aha moment because, the things he wanted to do, I didn't teach that, and it was never in the home. But I know that sports world and that boy world is a whole different beast. And yes, God reminded me now, and my mother and father reminded me now, you wasn't no perfect little, just cute little angel. Don't forget how he got here, that kind of thing. And so and then God reminded me, I'm telling you, he literally tapped me and said, hold up, he's got to have his own journey. As long as we praying that the fence be around him, that no hurt, harm, and danger would come to him, don't worry about it. I've got this. And that's what God was saying to me. And I'm telling you, Carl, all of 2 months ago now, Sterling called me and had his own aha moment and said, Mom, I found Christ for myself. Now we didn't took him since a baby. That's all he known, but he had to have the experience for himself. And it has just changed everything. And I was just in tears about it, that he found the gods of his fathers, that his mother and his grandparents served, and even his dad, that didn't work, but his father loved God too. And that's what we push. So yes, sir. Absolutely. It was an aha moment. Absolutely.
So now that he's out the house, you're an empty nester,
Yes,
and
sir.
you be traveling.
I'm through. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. On
So
location.
how does it feel at this stage of your life that you can wake up in the morning like, you know what, I want to go to Atlanta, and you'll be in Atlanta that night?
Atlanta that night. That's a privilege. And I am grateful for that privilege. And my dude, my sir, my girl, I am taking advantage of every moment that I could take advantage of, because it was literally, everything was kind of put on hold to make sure, we didn't even take real vacations because he had a basketball camp or he had a game or something. So, we didn't get to travel as much. Him and I would try to pull him, he'd have a fit. So I knew that that's what he wanted to do. So I poured into what he wanted to do. But now, what? If it's a flight in an hour, I'm gonna say, Carl, I'll get back. I'm headed somewhere because I want to do lunch there. So it's a privilege, but I am grateful and I am absolutely taking advantage of it. Yes, sir.
So we know your name is Staffy.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you could change your name, what would you change it to?
Sharon.
Why Sharon?
I don't know. I've always liked the name Sharon. I can't go no further. And I would write it all the time because ain't nobody never heard of Staffy. And folks say, is that your real name? I get that. If I can get $1 for all of that, I'd be a millionaire. And I would always just doodle. When I would doodle, I would write the name Sharon. I don't know why. I don't know. But that's what I would change it to.
So when I walk up to you, we're out in the public somewhere, and you're like, "What's up, Sharon?" You're like, "Carl."
I ain't gonna turn around. I ain't gonna turn around. I've been Staffy too long.
Oh my goodness. You also talked about how you worked in music starting in high school, going into college. Your love for gospel music and directing choirs really expanded once you got into Eastern Michigan University. where you served the EMU Gospel Choir for over 20 years. Long time. Talk about some of the special moments you experienced being a part of the Eastern Michigan Gospel Choir.
Johnny got half the step, girl. Let me tell you, I think one of the greatest moments was 1987 when we went to Gospel Fest. I was not the best musician, but what I learned, I would come from Ipsy every week to Clark Conservatory, tell Twinkie the songs that I wanted to learn. She would have it ready for me. The next week, I would be able to go back to choir rehearsal and teach the songs, be able to play it, teach it. And we decided to go to Gospel Fest. We had toured, that was part of what Eastern did. And so when I took it, I said, I'm determined. We are not going to fall down. We are not going to be less than the director that had it before, which was Marvin Miller. So we will not be less. Marvin was phenomenal. I said, I cannot be less than that because you'll never say it fell under my regime. Went, and we all decided to go to Gospel Fest. I know you remember because Michael Features was a judge. It was under Dr. Deborah Smith Pollard. And I can't remember who the other two judges were, but we went that year, 1987. Coupled with that, it was our first year to tour internationally. We toured Jamaica extensively. And we did the Gospel Fest that Sunday, hopped on the plane that Monday, headed to Jamaica to tour. So 87 was just huge for me. It was also the year that I graduated from Eastern. So it was huge for me. The tours, speechless. I can't. I talk to you all night about the tours. The 50th, and I'm just jumping around because it's been so much. I think the 50th year, we just did the 50th year.
Which is my next question.
Oh, okay. I told you I could talk much.
So let me read my next question. The EMU Gospel Choir recently had a 50-year anniversary. What was it like to get back together again with the choir members?
Let me tell you something. I'm still floating from that moment. It did not come without hard work. We came together. I saw the same kids because keep in mind, I was a student when I got the choir. So I had peers that respected me. We were the same age that respected the little talent that I had to push us forward. So to come back and see the testimonies that we did, we used to do a circle in rehearsal and testify about what we were studying and what we wanted to become. And so now these same people that wanted to be doctors are now doctors, that wanted to be judges are now judges and lawyers and teachers and preachers. And we all talked about it in 82, 83. And then to come back 40 years later for me, and these same people are thriving because they kept God first. And it's a moment for me because I said, had I, people say, you stayed that long, but I say, had I not stayed that long, I think that it's a legacy on the choir based on the founder, but thank God I stood that long. And sometimes I say, did I stay too long? Did I miss some things that I should have done? But to come back and be embraced by the members who were before me and then the members who are after me, and for them to just say, thank you for staying in place. Because of you, I was able to. And then to see the members before me say, because of you, we could stick our chest out and say that what we sacrificed was not in vain. Oh my God, Carl, that was a huge.
Speaking of Eastern Michigan University, you graduated with a Bachelor's of Science in Radio, TV broadcasting. You kind of alluded to it earlier when you're talking about, working with Mary Wilkes and different things like that. Why was it important for you to pursue that as a career and to get a degree in radio, TV broadcasting?
I'll tell you, my greatest place of peace is behind the mic. When I could be messed up, jacked up, but when you call me to that mic, from the walk to that seat to behind that mic, something transacts in me. And I pray anytime I MC or any of that, or be on radio, or whatever, something happens for me behind the mic. And let me tell you, let me just throw this in while we're there. Deborah Smith Pollard, Dr. Deborah Smith Pollard, let me tell you, her mom, as you know, Rosalie Smith, Miss Smith, as we affectionately called her, was my music teacher in Murray Wright with Mr. James Tatum. She was the accompanist. Deborah came one day. I saw Deborah at the mall. I ran up to her. I was 16, 17 years old. I remembered her coming. She was in radio at the time, and that was something I wanted to do. And she reached in her car. She had a little gold case, and she reached in her purse and gave me her card. Later, I found out, she said, Staffy, that's something that I would never have done. I don't know why I did that for you. But she reached in her purse and gave me her card and said, call me. And I was so excited. I was so excited. I called, and she invited me to be with her on God Sounds. You remember God Sounds? WDIB. And she has assisted me. Get emotional about it because of who she is. She could have told me no. She could have said, I'm too busy. But whenever I call her, she has made a space for me, whether it was Staffy, I'm gonna call you right back, I'm gonna email, I'm gonna text you, whatever. And she has told me and given me nuggets to live by that has assisted me in this radio world. With that, me meeting her during my high school years, I said, this is what I want my career in. I have not been gotten where I want to be because music got pushed in there. So I didn't pursue. But she was extremely instrumental. And she always said, Staffy, remember, you only as good as your last show.
Okay. The last, that's her line. You only as good.
Yes. You're only as good as your last show. So you could be up here today and gone tomorrow. So it has taught me to be grateful. And so that radio TV thing all started with her giving me an opportunity. Her and Bertha Harris. Do you remember Bertha Harris?
Yep.
Bertha Harris invited me. You remember the little booth that Galatian Baptist used to have where they did the night broadcast? She invited me into the booth and taught me how to spin the records and how to turn it halfway so that you don't get that, when the music starts, just little nuggets like that. And I said, this is what I want to do.
Wow.
And so I went to Eastern and got the real degree. It's all obsolete now because everything is like this, all the cutting and splicing that I had to use tape and razor blade and all that and reel to reel. We don't do that anymore.
You take me back to my days at Specs Howard School of Broadcasting.
Yeah.
That's your audition tape, cutting up tapes, and some tape behind the tape to keep it together and all that.
Absolutely, yes. So, but the ethic of it is there, and going to Eastern helped me be disciplined.
So you're now doing the Just Face It radio show with Staffy B.
Yes.
Someone listens to your show. What do you want them to take away?
I want them to take away the fact that they can be victorious, whether you're facing life and whatever is happening to you, just happened and now you're in it, or you've come through it, or now you're out of it. I want you to be able to look at my show and my guest, because I try to find people that show that they've had the worst of this, but they've come out of it. If you look at my show, I want you to know that you can be victorious and that we got a God that will take you wherever you want to go. If you simply just face it, the pressure that comes off of you once you face something is immediate. It's immediate. And people hold on to stuff because they don't. But if they learn to face things right away, you can save yourself a whole bunch of gray hair, a whole bunch of, headaches and sorrow if you just go ahead and face it, get it over with. So if you watch my show, I want to teach you and want to be able to instill in you that God is right there for you with whatever is going on with you, and that whatever's going on with you, you can face life victoriously. That's my tag. You can face life victoriously and come out of it.
So I'm going to segue. Not only can you just face it, but you can keep it moving, which was your debut album, debut release. I talked to a lot of people who became recording artists. I often say in the AARP generation times.
Yeah.
Why was it important for you to go after that dream of being a recording artist?
Actually, Keep It Moving wasn't the first. It was Get to the Concept with Eastern.
Okay.
We did recording, but well, you said solo project. So there's, you know what? I could sing and hold a couple, 2 or 3 notes here and there. And Raymond Davis said, Staffy, I want to put you on wax. Well, that's our term. You know, what is it now on
Digital.
stream? I don't know. On digital.
Digital.
He said, and I said, oh no, nobody, oh no. Because, I didn't have the high, I didn't have all the runs. He said, somebody out there needs to hear what you sing about and I said, okay, it was a challenge for me. It was a challenge because I had to build the confidence. And if you recognize, I did not really push that a whole lot, but it was something to accomplish for me. And I'm headed back that way again, but it was more for me to accomplish something in that area.
With said, we're working on her project. She said, Carl, this is about my legacy. A lot of artists, it's not about having the #1 song.
Yeah. Yeah.
Having a zillion streams. It's
yes.
about, I want to leave a legacy.
That's
when
good.
You reflect over your life now, what is the legacy that you want people to remember? I'm not trying to get you into the mortuary science area yet.
Oh, yeah. That's
coming. About your legacy now, what do you think about when you think about the things you've accomplished? I want it to be said that I worked hard for what I've accomplished. And I've accomplished a whole lot that I don't talk about at all. I mean, as an author, being in plays, being a musician, directress, preacher, teacher, all of the marrying folks, all of that. None of it is anything if people don't recognize that I did it to the glory of God, not for fame or fortune, none of that. Because again, you can get that today and it's gone tomorrow. I want the legacy to be, I want my child to see that I worked hard, that I had a workaholic ethics, if you will, that got me right to where I am today. And I'm still praying to God that He would redeem the time because I've procrastinated on a lot of things, and maybe we all have, that He would just redeem the time on some things that I should have moved on. Because I'm gonna tell you, Carl, in 1981, I'm sorry, 1991, I had the idea for what Facebook is doing right now, but I didn't move on it. Didn't know which way to go, talked about it. So I want you to know, for the legacy side of me, Staffy worked hard. I want that dash to read. Staffy worked hard for everything that she has acquired, and that God opened the door for me that no man could shut. So people say, how did you get there? God did it. So I want my child to be able to get that. I have enjoyed this conversation with you. And I'm going to talk about you because at the beginning, she's like, I don't know how to talk about myself. I warned you, didn't I warn you?
You made me want to tell all my business.
As we wrap up, for a young mother or for someone who may be where you were, say, 20 years ago, how would you encourage them to just face it and keep it moving?
Listen, it's very simple. Just do that. Listen, don't worry about what you don't have. Don't worry about what has not been acquired yet. If you stay in the race, if you stay focused, if you keep confessing what you want to come to pass, let me tell you, young mother that may not have the father in the baby's life, or you're single parent or what have you, you can make it. But my God shall supply, and he supplied all of my need. You hear me? And so, young sister out there, even to the brother that may have had to take on the role of mother and father, even to the young man out there, listen, don't give up on your dreams because you had a sidebar, now you had to raise a kid. Don't give up. Don't you dare do it. We got a God that can take you. If you just face it, he'll take you, baby, to places where only thing you can do is to keep it moving, because your next will be greater than your last.
Ooh,
Yes.
preach a real quick sermon. let me go get an offering pan.
Look, get my offering together.
Get that speaker's offering in there. How can people reach Staffy Blakely? How can they check out your show, social media handles, all those fun things?
Wow, I'm still working on that. Listen, you can just go right to Facebook, Staffy Blakely, or you can go to www.staffyb.com. And Staffy B is also on my YouTube channel. Staffy B seems to be the handle that I'm using most. And that's pretty much it.
Well, I appreciate you stopping by the Carl B. Phillips show, hanging out with my sister. And I'm speaking podcast in your life.
Yes,
We're
sir.
We're going to get it together, and
Yes.
we're going to have your podcast and have you all over the place with your own podcast. So I'm going to speak that in your future. Again, thank you for tuning in to the Carl B. Phillips show. Remember to work like you don't need the money, love like you've never been hurt, and dance like no one's watching you. God bless until we meet again. Take care.
Thank you.
The Carl B. Phillips Show.
Thank you for listening to the Carl B. Phillips Show. For more information, go to carlbphillips.com.
The Carl B. Phillips Show.
Follow Carl B. Phillips on Instagram so we can stay in contact with each other.